What's up?
All right, so here I was just about to leave, and Stewart is over here in the parking lot. So I'm doing this video project for Truett, and what it is, you pick a geographical location that needs Christ, and you just talk to people about worldview. So are you okay with me asking you some worldview questions?
Yes, your watch is like reflecting right now.
Oh, sorry. Did you have any idea this was going to be happening right now?
No.
So it's complete shock.
Yes.
Do you mind if I come around and so we can get a good mic on you? Do you mind if I come around?
Just walk over there.
Sure, wherever. So since it's about like worldview, this is your world right now.
This is my world, and this is my view.
So you're what do you do for work?
I'm a production assistant in film.
So do you want anything in particular in the background? Because, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Dude, I don't care.
okay, it's good right here. Okay. Am I like holding you up or anything? You gotta...
No, I'm just going to do 18.2 after this.
Okay, sweet. So I'm going to turn this off so we don't get the beeping. So, yeah. So you had no idea I was going to do this. And so I'm just going to ask you some questions. And you can answer however you want. There's no like right or wrong. There's no, you have to say religion, science, whatever. I'm just going to ask you questions. You're free to answer it however you want. Where do you think we all came from, as in all of humanity?
All of humanity?
Yeah.
I believe that we were created by God and also for an intended purpose. It's not just some mistake or happenstance or evolution per se. I feel like God had a reason and a design for each and every person that's here,
right?
Including you and I.
So would you say, that being said, that even like us doing this right now, like it's all in God's hand, like He's overseeing everything?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't think God wastes His time. I don't think He just is frivolous, or that He puts the world into motion and then spins it and walks away. I think He has a hand in each person's life because He cares for them.
So you don't believe in like the blind watchmaker, like everything just happened by chance, and it was all by chance. Okay, so so you're the fourth person I've talked to. Most everybody saying very similar things, like quoting scripture, stuff like that. So would you say, in reference to where all of us came from, would you say you would rely more on the Bible than your own opinion, like what you put together? Is that like your source for where our origin?
I think I rely on scripture, and part of it comes from, even not to be super religious too, is to even say, like, when I look at the world around me and I think, wow, look at the moon and the stars, or look at things like that, there's no way that this happened by chance. There's no way that this is just something that someone took a bag and mixed it up and then this is what comes out. But yeah, I would say my foundation that backs even my opinions on things is the Bible, is scripture. And I believe, side note, that scripture is true. I don't believe it's just a bunch of malarkey or an old book. I believe that it is true, and it is written by God through people. So yeah.
Okay, so you've identified who you are. You're Stewart. You said where we come from. Our source is God, like we came from God. Next question is, what do you think is the purpose of mankind? Or ask it a different way, why do you think we're here?
Hard-hitting questions, right? Right before our CrossFit workout.
Surprise!
I think to keep it the long story short, I believe that.
I mean, I got 63 minutes of battery right now, so we have 1 hour.
God is
starting now.
God has created man in order that man might give. Like, God is the creator, we are His creation. Therefore, God has made His creation to point back to Him, to give Him, in I guess churchy terms, to give Him glory, to give Him praise, but all to point back to Him and say, hey, He's the one that is responsible for all this. For me, He's responsible for the things that are good in my life, because I believe that He's a good God. I believe that in a nutshell is why we're here. We're not just here to have fun, or here to just be His like puppets that He moves around and thinks, oh, that's funny, let's make him do this kind of thing.
So like God could be in heaven with the angels, like, watch this, man. You don't think it's like that?
No.
Not even from a Christian sense. You don't think they're ever like, hey, check this out.
I think God has a sense of humor, but he doesn't like puppet people around.
He doesn't run people into each other like.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something I've noticed. So you're the fourth person I've talked to, and almost everybody's answers have been almost verbatim the same. Like if you were going to categorize them, not word for word, but if you're going to categorize, everybody I've talked to has said almost the same thing. So I'll ask it this way. You said who you are, where we come from, what you think man's purpose is. The next question would be where we're heading. So I'm going to guess you're going to say, would you agree with all the other three people I've talked to that mankind is headed towards judgment, which either means heaven or hell? Like there's no other option. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I don't think there's a third option at all.
Okay, so what? Talk a little bit about that, like judgment, heaven, hell. Like, tell me what you believe about that personally.
Well, I do believe that that all mankind, regardless of whether you believe it or not, is headed to some sort of judgment. That when we each pass away, that we're going to stand before God, our Creator, and have to answer for the things that we've done. I do believe that we all end up on our own merit will be guilty of a lot of things. I believe God has created the world to, and this can even come from a non-religious point of view of God has created the world to work a certain way, and I can agree and look around that the world is pretty messed up. You know, like I can look at just what's happening in the world, what even things that maybe I do or people that I'm close to suffer with, and I'm like, this is not the way that it's supposed to be. But when it comes to eternity, that we stand before God, we answer for what we have to say. And like I said earlier, that believing in Scripture, I do believe that without knowing, or what we've done has created this gap, that God is perfect God, that he cannot accept sin in his presence.
Right.
I myself, as rest of humanity, has sinned, and therefore we create this gap that we cannot earn our favor back by doing something that makes God owe us. You know, and so, but with God also, that he's perfectly just, there's a penalty for that, which is separation from him, which comes into the hell part. God is also perfectly loving and perfectly merciful and gracious, so therefore he sends his son, again coming back to Scripture, which is my foundation, that he has sent his son to bridge that gap by living a life that we can't live, that we never will be able to, and so therefore by trusting in what his son has done on the cross, in his life, in his resurrection, something that we can never do, I can never do, you can never do, that we have a right relationship with God, and that restores the gap. So therefore that's where heaven comes into play. And I think heaven is more than just like it's just a happy place, you know, or it's just a place that good people go to, you know, it's a place that people who are bad, people who have sinned, rely on the grace of God to get you there, and it's being in God's presence, you know, and it's I believe heaven is all about God. It's not about me and just I'm going to be super happy and rich and jump around and wear robes, you know.
Not like Stewart's place up on a banner.
Yeah, it's not about me. Like,
over the gates.
Look, I made it to heaven. It's about me, you know. It's like God's home and he's welcoming us back in.
Okay, so I want to go down a road, like when you say that, it makes me think about a couple things. But we've kind of, almost everybody, we've ended up saying kind of the same thing. So I'm going to present this a little different.
Should I say something provocative to mix it up?
No, don't say not intentionally, but say what you really feel. Yeah. So describe what you think hell is going to be like. If you're saying, and the reason I'm asking this is because you're saying there's just two options. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think hell's like and what you think heaven's like? Because I'm just taking as if I had never met you, what you're telling me reality is. And if I'm going to take you, okay, Stewart's right about this, I just want to know, what are the options? So describe what you think hell is like.
I don't speak from personal experience of going, but I think it's going to suck. You know, it's going to be really bad. And it's one of those things, again, Scripture is my basis for this. You know, I can't say, I've been there and I know what's going on. But it's going to be really bad, and I think that we can look at anything in the world today and say, look at this suffering of these people, or look at what, you know, this person has had to go through in life, and know that is, you remove, and this is all believing that, hey, God is somehow involved again, like with the world and with creation. If you totally remove him, say, okay, you guys are screwed, like this is it, this is all you, then that's going to suck. I don't really know how else to say it, other than it's just gonna be bad.
Right.
I can get into like the nitty gritty of what I believe. Like, it's going to be like physically hot.
Right.
There's going to be like fire and
right.
people like thinking about like weeping and crying and constant. It's not and it's an eternal place.
Right.
I don't think it's some place that you just get out of. Like, you spent your time here, you can move on. Like this is an eternal judgment. God doesn't like wishy-washy. Okay, you were kind of bad, so I'll just let you kind of be here, and I'm going to change my mind. You're good now, kind of deal.
So it's pretty extreme.
It's extreme, and I think it's final. There's not some third way out that you can, like a plea
hell
bargain.
number 2.
Like hell levels of hell, or like, it's not as bad. And I think people joke around about it. And they're like, we joke around, and especially in my work, people say, you're going to hell, or they joke around like it's not going to be bad because at least I'll be there with all my friends.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be a terrible place. It's not going to be some place that is just not a good version of heaven.
Right.
I think they're polar opposites. Everything that heaven is, hell is not, and vice versa.
So on that line of thought, describe what you think heaven is going to be like.
It's not going to suck. It's going to be super awesome. I think heaven, it's hard to describe it because it's more than than just a happy place, than just a place that, bad things don't exist, which will be true. I don't think that there won't be sins, or the things that people do that are wrong that we see on this earth are not going to be present. I think, and those are also going to be replaced with the qualities that we see in God, that we can even recognize in other people. That it's going to be a very, a loving place, a place where people are excited to see each other, that people are going to have others' best interest in heart. There isn't going to be greed and pride. On top of that, I think it's going to be a really, I don't know, in my mind, I think heaven's going to be clean.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
There's not going to be like dump trucks rolling around, like taking stuff to the dump, and
I think that God.
You don't have to set your trash out every Tuesday.
Like God describes heaven as being this place that is decorated and all these awesome, like jewels and gems that are just like commonplace that you wouldn't see nowadays. But at the same time, I do think this is on a side topic too. I do think heaven might be a place that people think, we'll be worshiping God, but I think it could be a place where we also work and have jobs and do things like that. I don't think it's going to be where we just float around in robes and have like literal halos over our head and just do like mantra chants of things. I feel like it's going to be, it all revolves around God because heaven is about God, but we're going to be able to glorify Him and point to Him through the things that we do and how we interact with other people that are in heaven. And it's also eternal. I don't think there's like a level of like lesser heaven that's like, you get a crappy heaven and you get a super awesome heaven per se.
There's not like the
it's not like
high line and then like the low income housing and then like the middle class. Like there's not like, okay, all you guys are the good heaven and you guys are the bad heaven.
I believe heaven is I think other people believe this too, is that heaven is going to be a perfect place. And I've always wondered this is just, again, me. I've played baseball. I've always wondered if it's going to be perfect. How do you play sports? Because everyone's going to know how to do everything.
Grand slam every single time.
But the pitch is going to be perfect at the same time. So how does that even work? I don't know. Is there going to be baseball in heaven? Heck, I don't know. But that's a real question.
It will be to you if it's truly heaven. There should be baseball there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but how am I going to hit a grand slam if the pitcher is also?
It's like Phil Negro or like Nolan Ryan is like 3,000 mile an hour fastball.
On the corner. But I'm going to somehow knock it out of the park every time. I don't know how that's going to work.
So you answered all the questions. Anything else you want to add to this? Like that just brought up? No? You're good?
CrossFit is a lot like the church. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So,
that's a whole nother can of worms. You want to go there?
If you could keep it like to about a minute or something like that, but just how, like you can say, how CrossFit is like the church. Yeah, sure.
CrossFit's like the church. I think it's cool, and I should start off by saying I see some CrossFit boxes like this, that sometimes do what the church should do better. But I think it's first off, it's a sense of community of people coming from all different backgrounds of physical fitness and shape, but being able to come together under the banner of fitness and pursuing fitness, knowing that none of us might reach the pinnacle. It's always going to be a journey, but being able to see people come in and suffer with each other and do these workouts that are really hard, or really lift weight that they never thought they could do, and they're always on this journey, no matter where they're at, being able to see the community and brotherhood that's developed through that, and how closely knit people get when they suffer together with their brothers and sisters, or people who are strangers that become brothers and sisters. I think that's a lot of what the church is supposed to do. As we go through life and go through the ups and downs of life, we're supposed to suffer together, rejoice together, and then it builds a stronger community, and that's how we affect change and whatever in our personal lives and our community as a whole, state, bigger, whatever picture you want to look at.
All right, this is good word. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you letting me sneak up on you, surprise you with all this.
Ambush me.
And you had no idea I was doing it, right?
Totally.
So
I came to do 18.2.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, thanks, man.
Sweet.